Hello! Welcome to another video. It is no secret that I am a massive Animal Crossing fan. I'm pretty sure I've made that very clear. I'm a big fan of Animal Crossing. I've played the games for years. I adore it. It's a big part of my existence. So, I had the idea to pretend my villagers were real people that read real books and theorise what their favourite books would be. And that's what we're doing here. Naturally, I would have worn my Dodo Airlines hoodie for this video, but apparently I like to film on the hottest day of the year, and I'm really, really hot. So, no Dodo Airlines hoodie. This video idea probably is not original. Someone has probably done it. I haven't seen it done, but someone will have done it. It's not gonna be a new thing. So we're gonna go through my Animal Crossing Islanders on Animal Crossing's New Horizons and think about what their favourite book would be. This is also gonna double up as ranking my villagers, because we're gonna also go through these from my least favourite of my villagers to my favourite of my villagers. So we can double up on that. I'm calling them villagers. They're islanders in New Horizons, but stuck in my ways by calling them villagers. So of course there are 9 villagers, islanders on your island. We're gonna start with my 9th favourite and work our way up, and I will tell you what I think their favourite book would be. Of course, this is completely just based on my thought process, what I associate each islander with. There is really very little logic behind this other than what I think would suit them. Of course, a lot of islanders have the same personality types, so I am just winging a lot of it, but I'm pretty happy with the list that I have curated here. And of course, I am only basing this on books that I have read, because it would be silly to put books I haven't read down, because I don't know if my islanders would like them. Don't take any of this too seriously. It's Animal Crossing. Who takes Animal Crossing that seriously? A fair few people. Anyway, I have my list here. Let's go through it. As I say, this is also doubling up as ranking my islanders. So coming in at number 9 is Cat. Cat is a sisterly type. She's the only sisterly type I have, but she's definitely not my favourite of the sisterly types, nor my favourite on my island. She just doesn't suit my vibe. I don't hate her, I don't actively dislike her. She's not one of the ones that I originally wanted to really boot out, but at the minute she is coming in at number 9. Now, Cat gives me kind of techie vibes. Her house is almost like a garage, sort of, but full of like techie junk. So I imagine she's kind of into random techie junk. And for that reason, what I think Cat's favourite book would be is Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, just because techie junk. So Sleeping Giants, if you are unfamiliar, is a sci-fi novel about a giant robot that is found, or more about the research team that are discovering this giant robot. It starts off with a young girl who is riding through the forest on her bike, and she falls into a hole into a giant metal hand. Flash forward a few years and we are following the research team researching what this hand is, where the rest of its body is, what it does, what it means, what it could do, where you can find it, and can you construct it. So this is purely based on that like random techie junk vibe that I get from Cat, but I think she'd be a fan of sci-fi, and I think she would be a fan of Sleeping Giants. Next up, coming in at number 8 is Keaton. Keaton is a smug villager. I have a weakness for the eagle villagers. I do really like them. Keaton is just not my favourite of them. He's a smug villager, so he's proper gentleman-like, but he's definitely not my favourite. And Keaton gives me racer boy vibes, because, I mean, he is a bit of a gentleman, so maybe not total racer boy vibes, but his house is a road and he has those like car beds in it, so it's very car-esque. I was gonna say garage again, but it's not garagey vibes, it's just full of cars, and his carpet is a road and he's got like oil about the place and stuff. So Keaton gives me the vibe of being really into cars. For that reason, the book that I have suggested as Keaton's favourite book is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is book 2 in the Raven cycle, following on from the Raven Boys. And the reason I've said book 2 specifically is because this book is quite heavily focused on cars. There is a lot of involvement of the vehicles in this book. I know that Maggie Stiefvater herself is quite into cars, and that comes through in this book in particular. But the Raven cycle follows 4 schoolboys and a girl called Blue on an adventure to find a dead Welsh king. It's very magical and atmospheric. It's one of my favourite series. I love the very whimsical atmosphere of the settings in this book. The characters are all very complicated, like none of them are simple in my opinion. I really enjoy this series, but this book focuses very heavily on cars and dreams, and I think Keaton dreams of cars. So therefore, The Dream Thieves is my pitch as Keaton's favourite book. Coming in at number 7, we have Maddie, and Maddie is a peppy villager type. She wants to be a pop star. When I first started my island, Maddie was one of my favourites, but as I've gone through villagers, she's gradually gone down the list, as of course I'm picking out villagers that I really love. So Maddie's working her way down the list, unfortunately. Maddie is, in my opinion, really lovely and sweet and a bit like stereotypical girly girl, like loves love, loves pretty things, wants to be a pop star vibes. That's what Maddie presents to me. And I have picked, for Maddie's favourite book, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I think Maddie would really like this. It's about fairies. It's a bit romancy, which I think Maddie would really like. But also, it's not total fluff, because I don't think Maddie's totally fluffy. Also, I don't have many fluffy books that I would recommend, but maybe Maddie would be more into, contemporary romance. So this is the closest thing I have for what I would think Maddie would be into. But it's got fairies, it's got romance, it's very romancy, isn't it really, let's be honest. But yeah, I think Maddie would like the journey that this book goes on. And of course there's also a fantasy political plot going on in here as well. I just think Maddie would get sucked into the story. I could imagine her sitting in my outdoor library on my island reading this one. So yeah, I've put A Court of Thorns and Roses as my favourite book for Maddie. Coming in at number 6 is Judy. Now, Judy is a snooty villager type. She's pretty new to my island, but Judy's pretty cool. She's cute looking, she's got stars in her eyes, and she's snooty. So what vibes does Judy give me? Judy kind of gives me snooty vibes. She thinks she's better than you, but she's not going to say it quite like that. She's going to be nice about it, but she thinks she's better than you. That's how Judy comes across, but she's also just pretty cute and she looks magical. And for these reasons, the book that I am pitching as Judy's favourite book is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This gives me snooty vibes. I think Judy would for sure read this and she would love the lyrical writing of it and the whimsy of it, the way you fall into this kind of magical, flowery world. The writing style, I think, would be right up Judy's street, and while she's reading it, she would think she's better than you. This book really does just give me snooty vibes. I think a lot of these snooty character types would like this book. It just gives me those snooty vibes, mainly because of the writing style. A lot of people say it's too flowery and too all over the place writing wise. I think the writing is beautiful. I love Erin Morgenstern's writing personally, so call me a snooty villager as well. I love this book. But I definitely think Judy would fall into this world and the stars in her eyes would be all over this. I think she would love it. So The Starless Sea is about a boy called Zachary Ezra Rollins who finds a book that has passages of his life in it, and it leads him on a wild journey through doors, finding incredible people and an incredible place, and it's not necessarily the easiest plot to follow. It is a bit all over the place, but I love the whimsy of this and the beautiful writing, and I think Judy would too, so the Starless Sea for Judy. For number 5, we have Bangle. Bangle is another peppy villager type. However, Bangle gives me slightly more fun, childlike vibes than Maddie does. As I say, Maddie was peppy and she's more of the like girly girl in my mind, whereas Bangle gives me more like childlike fun vibes. So, for that reason, what I am pitching for Bangle's favourite book is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Childlike fun. This book follows a young girl called Morrigan Crow, who is destined to die on her 11th birthday. However, she is swept into the magical world of Nevermore and put through some trials to determine her fate, pushed along by a guy called Jupiter North, who is the most incredible, eccentric man I've ever read about. I think Bangle would be all over this. The fun, adventure, the magic, the like glory in this story. Like, Bangle also, as a peppy villager type, she wants to be famous, she wants to be a star, and I think she would love to rise to stardom within Nevermore. I think she's all about this. I think she would love it. So Bangle, Nevermore go together so well in my mind, so I think this would absolutely be Bangle's favourite book. Coming in at number 4, we have Poppy. Poppy is adorable and Poppy is a normal type. Poppy gives me slightly more sophisticated vibes than most of my islanders. She feels more grown up. Her house is totally autumnal. She's an adorable little squirrel, but she just gives me slightly more sophisticated vibes. Just like understated adult islander. You know, like Judy gives me snooty, sophisticated vibes, whereas Poppy just gives me more of a grown-up vibe. I think she would be absolutely into a magical world, but also I think with that more grown-up vibe that she gives me, she would be more into perhaps a political fantasy, maybe, but she also doesn't want to lose touch with that magic. And for those reasons, I am pitching Poppy's favourite book as The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is one of my newest favourites, so might be projecting there a little bit, but I think Poppy would love this. This is about a young girl called Nari who wants to be a doctor, and she has an affinity for sensing people's ailments and healing them a little bit as well, but she also is a bit of a trickster, and when she's performing one of her tricks, she accidentally summons a powerful djinn warrior that takes her on a journey and teaches her the truth about who she is, where she's from, what her abilities mean, and they travel to the City of Brass, where the djinn live. It also follows Prince Ali, who is Prince of the Djinn, and we have his more political side to it. So Nari's experiencing the magic and the whimsy for the first time, but from Ali's perspective, we have a lot of the like politics and the inner workings of the City of Brass. And I think that combination would really suit Poppy's vibe in my mind, with her like slightly more grown up, would like a political fantasy, something to sink her little squirrel teeth into. I think she would really love the City of Brass, and I do too. So there's that. Getting into my top 3, coming in at number 3 is Lucky, and Lucky is a lazy villager type. He's all wrapped up in bandages, looks a bit like a mummy. He had a terrible accident at one point in his life, leaving him looking like this. Lucky has a very obvious personality, I think. He's a spooky boy. He's wrapped up like a mummy. His house is a graveyard. He has gravestones in his house, like dirt floors, little skull record player playing eerie music all the time. He's a spooky boy. And he's also very childish. So childish, spooky boy. What I am pitching as Lucky's favourite book, this was a no-brainer for me, is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. It's literally set in a graveyard. It's all we need to know for Lucky. Set in a graveyard, there's ghosts. Our main character, Bod, is like this childlike character because he's a child, learning about the world and experiencing things I think Lucky would really relate to Bod and his friends and family being ghosts and Lucky being a spooky boy. I just think this goes together so well and is an absolute no-brainer. So Lucky would love The Graveyard Book, and honestly it's probably the only book Lucky's ever read because he's too lazy. He's a lazy, childish boy. And he probably would have read this one book, loved it, and been like, well, that's it. This is definitely what I see Lucky with. Coming in at number 2 is Fauna. Fauna is such a special character. Everyone loves Fauna. I love Fauna. She is a normal type. She's adorable. She's just the cutest. I just love her. I love her very much. She gives me, again, slightly more adult vibes. I think she would want something really atmospheric. I think, again, she would, similarly to Poppy, want something a bit more adult to sink her teeth in, but also like doesn't want to lose touch of the magic and the whimsy in the world. And I think what Fauna would really love is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is such a beautiful story about a young girl called Vasya. It's her coming of age story. She is sighted and can see the spirits that guard the house, etc. And when her father remarries a devout Christian woman and brings a priest into town, the religion starts shifting and the spirits are dying, and Vasya, who will defy society's expectations of her in every possible way, goes on a bit of a journey to rekindle the worship in the spirits. And she's very connected to the spirit world. She's... it's so... I don't know how to describe... I've never known how to describe this book, but it's one of my absolute favourites. It is beautifully written. The world is beautiful. Of course, I love the, like, Slavic folklore vibes that this has, and I really think Fauna would be into that too. So, for that reason, I think The Bear and the Nightingale would be Fauna's favourite book. And coming in at number 1, my favourite Islander that I have, and my favourite Islander of all time, is Goldie. I love Goldie. Goldie was my original fave from like back in New Leaf. I've loved her continuously and I was desperate to have her in this game, and it just so worked out that G had her and she wanted to move out and I had a plot, so we kind of engineered that so that I now have Goldie on my island and I love her. She is my favourite. Goldie is a normal type. Again, I seem to like the normal types, but Goldie gives me slightly more laid back vibes. She's just really chilled. I think she would be into more of the middle grade, but perhaps the like whimsical middle grade again. I just think everyone loves magic. I think she would love a sense of adventure with a sense of magic, as I say, kind of laid back, a bit more relaxed. So perhaps she would like a magical middle grade adventure, and one of my all-time faves, because Goldie's my all-time fave. So pushing those together, I think Goldie's favourite book could perhaps be Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is one of my favourites. I love this. I love the movie of this that was made by Studio Ghibli as well. Just massive fan of all things Howl's Moving Castle. So Howl's Moving Castle follows a young girl called Sophie who is cursed by the Witch of the Waste, and upon receipt of this curse she decides to go out and, you know, make her own way in the world, and she stumbles across Howl's Moving Castle. And Howl has this reputation for being a devilish wizard who will only be satisfied by the hearts of young girls. There is such a sense of adventure in here and magic, and it's just beautifully written. It's a beautiful story. I love these characters and I love Goldie, and they just go well together in my mind. I think Goldie would read this and reread this and reread this. I think she would love the adventure. She would love... I don't want to spoil the book by saying what else I think she would love about this, but the magic, the adventure, the witchcraft, the wizardry, the travel. I think she would be all about all of this. I really think she would enjoy it. So therefore I am pitching Howl's Moving Castle as Goldie's favourite book. And there we go. There are my islanders on Animal Crossing's New Horizons ranked with what I think their favourite books would be. Of course, this is totally just my thoughts and my interpretations of these characters. If you disagree with these, then that's absolutely fine. I'm sure everyone has in their mind what their islanders are like, and I'm just basing this off what I think they would be into, and also what I'm into, because of course I project myself into these characters. But I hope you have enjoyed this video, just a little bit of fun. It's an idea I'd been playing with and I'd been thinking about what they would read because I've got a little outdoor library area on my island, so what would my islanders like to go and read in the library area? And that's the list that I came up with, so there we go. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, give us a thumbs up. Let me know down below who your favourite villager is and what you think their favourite book would be. I would be really interested to know. But yeah, that's it for this video, so I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you in whatever I put out next. Bye!